Welcome to the Chatting Chakras podcast, where we get our inspiration from chakras, yoga, art, and sacred space of friends. Here's your hosts ready to rock the rainbow with you, Christina Alexa, Lonnie Voivod, and Kate LeMay.
Okay, well, good day, everybody. Welcome back to Chatting Chakras. I'm here with my dear friends, Lonnie Voivod and Christina Alexa. Let's introduce ourselves to this community today.
Hey, everyone. My name's Lonnie, and I am the Chakra Whisperer.
Ooh, Chakra. I like that.
Oh, yeah, that just came out of nowhere.
Chakra Whisperer. I'm Christina Alexa, and I already forget whatever the title came through earlier that you brought in, Lonnie.
Oh, it was. What was it? It wasn't the power amplifier, but it was power.
Spiritual something.
We got to write these things
Guess
down.
I don't know who I am today.
Spiritual amplifier. Spiritual ascensionist. I think ascensionist was in it.
Oh, yeah, ascension.
Yeah.
Power sender.
Power
sender.
We got it. Power ascender.
Right. I'm Christina Alexa, power ascender.
It's pretty good. Not for anything except royalties.
Yeah, someday.
And by the way, for people who are listening to this podcast, it might be a good thing to do this every day for ourselves at home. Figure out who are we today?
Yes. Yes. You know what? I'm gonna start with a little tiny story about, of course, watching American Idol last night, because I feel like it's relevant. Oh boy, dear Lionel Richie broke down at one of the people who were auditioning, and he was wonderful, and the guy was very talented, but you could tell the guy didn't have a lot of self-confidence. And I think Luke Bryant asked Lionel Richie, how do you, Lionel, tell him how you start every day? And I think Lionel was a little bit embarrassed for a second, and then he said, when I walk into the bathroom and I look in the mirror, the first thing I say is, hey, that's Lionel Richie. Or I think it was like, hey, I'm Lionel Richie. And that we all should just start with the recognition of self. And in not, this is not his language, but in the world of Chatting Chakras, acknowledgement, respect, understanding of self, not ego driven, but be in awe and start addressing, the reflection of you with some gratitude and reverence and playfulness. Winged perceiver segue.
Kate,
how do we perceive things?
Did you introduce yourself, Kate?
Well, I'm Kate LeMay. And I think I'm going to just steal what Lonnie says, oh my gosh, it's Kate LeMay.
You're Kate LeMay.
Kate LeMay. That's what I'm
Kate LeMay.
I'm the Kate LeMay. Which I kind of do a lot. I have that running in my head because, as you both know, I work at a summer camp, and as a big spoof, the staff started saying my name as a joke, but then it became a thing, and then it was Kate LeMay in the camp, and
all right, hold on. I would like you not to bring the energy out of that story, though. They didn't just say Kate LeMay. They created a camp chant that went on to hundreds of people, where they would boom together to celebrate who's the one who raises the sun. Kate LeMay. Kate LeMay. Who's the one who gets things done? Kate LeMay. Kate LeMay. And then there were, who's the one who brings all the fun? Kate LeMay. Kate LeMay. I mean, that is a pretty good chant. And then, after the Sanskrit mantras, I would maybe consider running that through on a daily.
It could help. I mean, I actually think it could help. It could help. I think that state of mind is super important. And I'm realizing and recognizing this every day. It's a brand new awareness every day. It's how responsible I get to be is the thing between my ears, and how I tell the stories that are me, right? So for sure, I I love that we now have the Lionel Richie lexicon story, and that the awareness of tying it into like, oh, you're in charge of that. You're in charge of the story in between your head. And like, we get to choose every single day, you know, Sutra 2, which will come in our next series, but.
And maybe marry it to brushing your teeth, because you arrive somewhere in front of a mirror to brush your teeth every day. So you might as well, like, I am already in love with the idea of Christina turning and going, Christina Alexa, power sender. And I will. That's fun to me.
So, I mean, every morning a new beautiful thing, but make it something you're proud of and something you're excited about, and not, you know, and in a relationship to the opposite, which is like usually when we're not as nice to ourselves and maybe we have a different story in our head. So I love this. We've introduced yet another round. This is part of the show, as you guys can tell. It's the chunk with the banter, and I think it's nice. I like the banter. I think other people tell us in the comments. We haven't really like asked for a lot of comments. Tell us in the comments, how do you like the banter parts, people? I know you're going to have to log into YouTube to make that comment, which is super annoying about the platform. But if you could pre-log in, give us a thumb. Don't forget to subscribe, share to your friends. We could use a little help from our community if you are taking the time to listen to this, because, you know, people only know what people share. And so we appreciate everybody interacting with us. So tell us, how do you like the banter? And if you want, tell us if you're interested in any other kind of banter. You want to know anything? We're available to tell you stuff.
Oh yeah, we'll answer questions.
Like a Dear Abby sort of thing, you know.
Dear Abby.
Dear
question.
We'll do a bonus episode answering questions. We're not afraid.
Oh, you're just gonna
Dear power sender.
Dear power sender.
I will say
in my third chakra.
Our dear fellow yogini and beautiful soul Renee Couples shared this morning that she is loving the experience of the chakras. When she has work, she's doing work, and I'm not going to get her in trouble because it's stuff that she does, you know, that it's repetitive motion. So she's able to watch and listen to the chakras, and she says it has like made all the difference to her work day, that she's able to like experience the energy and hear some of the ideas and get excited and still continue to, you know, show up and do what she needs to do. So that meant a lot. That meant a lot to hear that.
So shout out to all the people that have reached out to us. You know who you are. Like, it matters. We really appreciate your feedback on our journey, because it actually makes it feel like purposeful. Like, we're like, oh my gosh, you're listening and you like it. So thanks to you. Like, we're sending you rays of love. Care Bear, unite.
Care Bear.
Heart love from the hearts. Care Bear. Okay. Oh yes.
I don't know how to do that.
You got it. Look at you, first timer.
But wait a minute.
Nailing it.
Wait a minute. What's happening with the thumbs? Oh, I got it.
They go down like a little heart, and then they shoot out your heart. It's your.
All right.
All right. Let's
Speaking of shooting out
today. What do we got today, ladies? Winged Perceiver. Lonnie, you're up for the reading. You got your reader?
Yes, ma'am. On it. Winged Perceiver. I love our chit chat banter before this, because I do feel like it ties in. So Winged Perceiver. This is the traditional symbol for the 6th chakra. The image has 2 wings, enabling the seat of the soul to transcend space and time. This allows you to perceive and conceive your inner and outer worlds. So this is about the power to perceive and conceive your inner and outer worlds. Use creative visualization to transcend your own time-space realities. Revel in creating a beautiful vision of your journey. And your mantra is, I see.
Can I just
go ahead.
Invite everyone who happens, whenever you're listening to this, if we just take a thumb and place it just above the brow line, center of the forehead, close our eyes and do a little light press, not too hard, maybe 20% of your effort, until you really feel the pressure right in that spot, and begin to just breathe and collect your awareness. So again, you're just pressing the thumb right in that third eye spot. It's about a finger width above the eyebrow, center of the forehead. Now, keeping your eyes closed, remove your thumb, remove your hand, relax, and then feel the echo of that pressure. Keep your focus there. And now imagine on your next inhale through both nostrils that the breath, the prana, is going right up to the third eye and opening the third eye. You might see it as a camera aperture opening or a flower or an eye. And then suggest to yourself that mantra, I see. And then when you're ready, you can come back and open your eyes. It's a really, really simple shift from getting lost in the mind and the intellect. And if you just need a quick shot of, I just need to flip from excess inquiry in my mind or busy, busy mind to quiet mind, the other side of the third eye, just I see. And we don't have to see anything in that moment, but we might. But the fact that we create that openness allows us, creates openness for insight to flow in throughout the day. So I just wanted to throw that quick exercise in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's so many more, but that's a quickie.
Well, if another one comes through, I think we're open. Stay tuned, kids.
Be ready. There might be a
Be ready.
practical application coming up, so just be ready.
Yeah, I love this one. Feels so where power and playfulness just, create miracles and offer opportunities to ignite imagination. I mean, creative visualization is not new to our culture, but it really came to the forefront. I would say the Secret gave it a nice boost, right? Vision boards, the recommendation of vision boards and of connecting, the machinery of our imagination, like our ability to summon with detail things we would like to see in our lives and play the game of noticing them more clearly in the outside world. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Christina, what would be your interpretation of the winged perceiver if you weren't necessarily, like, do you think it's captured well here, or what would you add to it in your practice with this symbol?
I think that winged perceiver is another, we were just saying this about ether for the throat chakra. It's another heavy hitter. Like, there's so much in here. And I was just rereading it even as Lonnie was going through. What talks to me the most about this is yes, transcending space and time, but allowing you to perceive and conceive. Perceive and conceive.
Yes.
Your inner and outer.
That's what I wrote down. I was like, oh.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and then also revel in creating a beautiful vision for your journey. So perceive, conceive, create. I think that those three words associated with winged perceiver, first of all, inherent in winged perceiver is this quality that is inherent in our third eye, which is, yes, we have wings. I mean, that's a beautiful way to think about it. We know that third eye is definitely about wholeness. We talked about wholeness in the crown chakra, but also third eye. And we do and we've already talked about as well that we have the intellect and we have insight. It's a home for our intuitive wisdom on one level. And I just want to back up for a second in case this is elusive to some people. I mean, everyone's heard, oh, it's, third eye, third eye, third eye, but what does that really mean? The third eye qualities are those places of knowing and not knowing how, it's beyond rational intellect or rational knowledge. Or even rational ability to problem solve. This is the place where you go to bed with a problem and you wake up with a solution, right? You ask instead of do. So if I am stuck in my life in a decision or indecision or stuck in some place, I might say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go quiet. I'm just going to say, show me to my higher self or beyond. Right? And let the insight come, because I know it will, it always does. It's like our prayers are always answered in one way, shape, or form. They are. The intention that we set consciously and unconsciously manifests. So if our unconscious intention is to beat ourselves up all day, well, that's going to be our manifestation. If our conscious intention is to wake up and say, I'm Lionel Richie, or I'm a power ascender, or I'm Kate LeMay, right? Or whatever it is, that's the intention that will manifest. So third eye, when the mind is quiet and the insights drift in, or even if the mind is busy and running on autopilot, the insights still kind of drop in, like you're doing something repetitive, chopping the vegetables, or you're in the shower and you're doing serious clearing every time we're in the water. And some people say, wow, I get my best ideas in the shower. Yeah, we're clearing away all that other debris, all that stuff, even in our auric field. And the insights that have been trying to come in can come in. It's really interesting to open to that place. So knowing things, picking up on each other. The old classic one is you feel the phone's about to ring and it rings. And you say, well, how the heck did I know that? Or somebody comes in for you and you're thinking about that person and all of a sudden they call, right? Or you find something out about that person. Dreaming is also part of our third eye awareness. And we can also take our dreams and make them more conscious, right? We can ask for dreams. So anyway, insight, it's tapping into the infinite wisdom and the universal wisdom that already exists. When we open the third eye, it's like we're taking a sip of that. So I want a sip of that universal wisdom that is around me all of the time to bypass my intellect. So winged perceiver, that's a lot, but the words that jump out are perceive. That's the feminine, divine feminine principle. I need to stop doing long enough in order to perceive. And then actually take that and conceive, right? Like actually create my reality, create your reality. And then the word create. And inherent in that is so much of our beautiful, balanced, divine feminine power in sacred marriage with our divine masculine power.
I'm talking about.
That is what Kate, I was wondering, could you speak to the art this
one's a steal. I took it from the universal symbol from Winged Perceiver. So in this one is not an original like Kate LeMay symbol, because this I straight up took from the symbol. It sits like this. From
where did you see it?
Like I don't know, all over the flags that are about third eye.
Oh yes. However, is the line?
Well, the line, what does line mean, ladies? What I tell it in every episode. What does the line represent?
That is universal connection or spirituality. Yes.
Connection to source. Yeah, it's your source. So, yeah. So that, this one, I think I didn't need to even elaborate on a different vision. Yeah, thanks, Christina. Just like that.
I just wanted to look that up real quick. There's some symbols.
Yours is distinct, Kate. I would say.
Yes, it's the Kate LeMay rendition.
I think sometimes that, like, I take for granted that you are, the art. So yes, the logistics of your interpretation. But do you remember the experience of painting 54 of them, like on a sheet of paper?
Yeah, I love painting, and I love painting wings. I think when you're like time and space. I mean, I think this is like
right there. Go with that a little bit, because I mean, you go into another world, like you are in the meditation creating this, thinking about what this painting means to you, bringing it through to paper. So I would love to see that. Just give me a little bit, like you're in the paint, you're making little lines, and you're looking at time and space and feeling what that means for you. Can you talk about that a little bit? Just the experience?
Yeah, I mean, the experience is very similar in all of them, in that, like, I think Christina was describing it as she was chopping vegetables, and she was saying, like when you're in the shower or you're chopping vegetables, what my gift, and like I'm like on the edge where I could get emotional, but I'm not going to get emotional today. I've decided. But that, like, for me, it's how I hear the best when I paint, right? So in this particular design, I made the circles first, and the circle, and then I put the wings on, and then I dripped the paint through. Well, then it looks like I added one layer, I stripped the paint through, and then I added another layer of acrylic. So it's a simple design, which allows for, it's like not that hard, so you really can lose yourself, so some of the paintings, I get it's harder because, well, I actually love it. So the sensation where you can't even breathe, you have to hold your breath because a line is so fragile, or you have to be so connected to the line, that's the space that I feel timelessness, right? It's like, it's that it's so singularly focused on the painting of the line that there's no room for any other thought. And that's where that gap of the chatter, because you're focused on the line, is when I guess I would say that there's space and time. Like you can, like I don't know. I just feel super content. I need to make some art. I'm just like feeling so like, oh, I can't wait till art is back in my life again. I haven't been painting.
This one has such an etheric quality too, particularly the etheric quality of this comes through really strongly to me. It talks to me, and I can feel the energy of it. So when I'm looking at this particular painting, first of all, it looks super three-dimensional to me, and I can feel the time-space energy in it very strongly.
I love that.
And I feel like that your description there and your willingness to, share with us, like, I know what it's like to, like she said, chop vegetables, shower, do all those things. But like your invitation with this one, you're literally talking about perceive, conceive, create. You were witnessing, the symbol, you were conceiving through your own activity in your own heart, your own mind, your own talent. And you're going into that special place of no time to deliver it, onto the paper, baby, in your own way. It's funny to hear, like, you're so human, because I see you touch divinity when you discuss this, and also have the dregs of being beautifully human, where you're like, oh, that's easy, that's hard. Nah. What you initially said is, I remember the joy of diving into wings and what that meant to my soul. You said it through your movement and your leaning.
Wings, yeah, and transcending space and time. Like when I'm literally like time and space, and you're just like, I got to live in that for those paintings, and I've made this set 3 different times. So, and with each one they iterate a little different. There's a little bit of an iteration. So, which is, I think, the nuances that I appreciate. Like, I'm like, oh, that's from the original set. No, this is the second round and this 3rd iteration. But I think, like, when it comes to like how I think of the big picture of it all, it's like, I appreciate the subtleties in 1st to 2nd to 3rd iteration. And I'll just say it on this one. I think I'm going into NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, which is a digital based art that I think this is going to be, I'm going to turn these into NFTs, because I think it is the next iteration of the way art is going to the world. I don't know a lot about it yet, but I'm excited to learn about it and like, what does it mean? And, you know, I think there's a lot about my capacity to connect. And so you're saying perceive, conceive, create. I would add receive in that list. So it's like perceive, receive, conceive, create, because it was the space of reception that really
that's so third eye.
Yeah. And I feel super blessed. You know, we've talked about this in a few different shows, but just this gift where, you know, because I was like, I'm going to follow this idea that I have out of my brain, right? And then you like follow it a little bit. And then you're like, and then it iterates, and then it iterates, and then it iterates. And with each iteration, whatever the vision is. So for me, the paintings came from previous versions of paintings. You know, I was making paintings, and then came this clarity about the type of painting I was going to make. And then, and in it, the whole process of all of these is always like, I can see things when I'm 90. Like I'm time traveling while making the paintings. And then I'm like really humbled and brought back to this reality of like, but it almost doesn't matter. It's like you're on a train and you're like, oh, I'm already there. I've already received all those gifts. I've already know what it feels like. And so what's so cool about, I'm sort of like right now you're watching me on the edge with this painting and this conversation, like this is a live situation of this process, right? It's like, yes, the way it works is that my perception is a nudge. It's a sensation. Then I receive something where I am like, oh, I think I'm going to conceive the plan or the idea for this thing. And then you start to physically, tactically make something here. All of that is the gift in itself, but it's also how you create it. And it's like the meta, right? It's how you make something, but also you're getting the inclination of that feeling while you're making something and what it will, you know, like you can see space, you can see the future. That's what I guess I'm trying to say. And the more I dive into these processes, like yesterday, I had a situation where something that I like really heard and felt and saw in October is finally kind of becoming something real today. And in October, it was so annoying because I couldn't explain it where people could understand it. And I was super frustrated. I was like, I was annoyed. I felt very unempowered. And I think part of what this painting speaks to, sorry, this is so long, is that it's like, even in that moment where you're frustrated, it's like, if you can remember that it's not time bound and that you're not time bound, and that if you just can like relax, oh, you're having frustration. Okay, just file that sucker. Cause you never know the day someone's going to be like, oh, I need that thing. And you're like, oh my God, I made that already. I have it. It's ready to go. You know? So all these paintings, when I made 600 of them, not really, I think it was like 150 of them in preparation that they would be needed. Dude, I made them in 2015. They're needed in 2021. I just was off a little in the time. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Every step of the journey is necessary though. And we know this, but timing is everything. So if we trust that insight that comes in and that, like you said, that prompt, that urge, that nudge, you know, when you're receiving, and then you perceive what you receive, and then you conceive, create. If we trust that process, it could be something grand, like your set of paintings, Kate, and the channeled messages that come through and continue to evolve. This birthing process is not done. This is just one of the children, right? But if we do that even in small ways throughout our day, and we start to trust that, it gets very relaxing and life becomes very creative, and we come into a flow because we go, oh, I actually can trust the timing. I can trust that I can receive. I can trust that I can ask whatever you want to call it, the universe or higher self or God or whatever you want to call it. I can just ask and trust that I'll get an answer in right timing. And then we follow that guidance. And it may be to create amazing art for the world. It may be to create the amazing art of our own lives. You know, it could be to enhance our relationships, or to live a more fulfilled life or a more fulfilled moment. You know, just that process that you articulated is that, I think that is the process across the board. You know, whatever we allow to come through that process, that feels like the process to me. And it's beautiful. It's amazing.
And I think it's really helpful too, specifically to think about next time we feel frustration that seems out of whack with the present moment. And we don't know why, like, why is this triggering me? Why is this situation like frustrating me to the level that it doesn't make sense? Maybe like for that beautiful example, you know, way back in October, it's, to me, as we play with these ideas of crossing time and space quickly and we get more familiar, and maybe our practices do help us do it a little faster than some of like colleagues or people in our lives, that the frustration is because it literally makes no sense in October.
That's right.
Like, because you know in your bones that this is going to happen. So in October, when no one's in that space with you, you like your body self, your system self doesn't understand, because you already experienced the certainty and clarity of seeing into the future. I mean, I know this conversation sounds a little, but I feel like I have experienced this many times where
Everyone
I'm like,
has, right?
what is going on? And then, you know, 5 years later, everyone else is on board.
10 or 20, like, and that's the part I think we don't give enough credit to. I just love, Christina, how you married trust into this conversation,
Yes.
right? So now we have perceive, receive, conceive, create, and trust, right? Because at the end of this process of this vision and timeless spacelessness, we trust the timing, which I do think it's nice when you have clarity about the urgency, because it becomes a little bit more real. There's a market, you maybe make a PowerPoint presentation, you maybe make 500 paintings, you maybe, like Lonnie back with Epiphanies Inc. used to like take the show on the road and teach all these people stuff that, you know, now I look at what the world is doing, and you and Alan were like, hello people, like, look what's gonna come and you can be part of this. And, you know, I think you definitely you are a time traveler. We're time travelers, and we get these gifts from the future, and we come back and we rah, 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 like what we can feel or see or connect for the people we're around, or mostly for ourselves. I think it's what enhances our journey. But releasing and trusting, and then releasing any expectation around that process.
Non-attachment to outcome.
So we're gonna trust, and then we're gonna have non-attachment to outcome.
We're gonna do
How
it.
much of the world are we? Because my whole time I'm talking, I'm like, no one's going to be able to connect to these nodes, you know. And then you were like, Kate, it's this trust. I'm like, oh my gosh, she connected the nodes. Like, I feel like just connecting the dots sometimes on this stuff is super powerful, because when you have a practice that prevents total spin out, it's like the way I would describe it, like where you like lose it, you know, like I got to quit my job because nobody understands me, or like I have to make these rash decisions because I don't fit in my own time space reality right now and I don't understand it. What I just want to give credence to, for feeling like most of the time in most of the rooms I'm in, I'm the idiot that's saying things that are most people in the room might be thinking, but like no one is saying, but like also seems like the most baseline questions in the room. Secondly, I'm usually saying things that frustrate people. And every meeting I leave, I'm like, oh, I just frustrated people again, you know? And I just said it out loud on a podcast that they might hear, but like most people in my work are not listening, right?
Well, I would
You
say
owned it.
Next time you hear that, instead of frustrated, I just inspired people on a different time space continuum. Yes. Because you know what happens is, if and when we do get frustrated by anything, I would say sooner or later we may revisit it later and be like it does stay like a little grain of salt in your head and like stays there until it connects with the next level of your own understanding and awareness of the subject, right? Yes. I mean, you've had that validated back to you by people on your team, you know, and all over the place. Christina, I will say that you are probably as close to, and you're a master time traveler and seer as, you know, I'll ever know. Like, you know, you've been there, done that, have the t-shirt. And I was wondering if you could be so kind as to combine, you know, the essence of what we're talking about and these themes with your understanding of animal spirit medicine in terms of wings. Like I know you have a rich language in you about wings and, you know, and hawks and perceiving and being able to see expansively. Go.
So first, you know what I have to say, I don't consider myself to be a master of anything, but I do think for each one of us, it's nice to hold that space inside to say, wow, through repetition, through showing up, through repetition of anything, whether it's unconscious bad habits or conscious habits that serve us well, through repetition, we do aspire toward mastery. And so with a place of discipline, you know, and showing up, like with third eye energy, if we're trying to tap into the third eye, showing up for ourselves and validating that space over and over and over, like, oh, I just picked up on something. I'm going to validate that I got that insight. I'm just going to bookmark it in my mind. Wow, I did do that. That happened. That's possible, rather than just dismissing it. And also, you know, not for nothing, but meditation, quieting the mind in meditation. And I do want to talk about the wings, Lonnie, but I just wanted to tell a story because I think that some of these concepts can feel elusive. And what I like about when we're talking about the chakras is that I think we try to make it practically applicable to our everyday lives, right? And not something that's conceptual and elusive. But when I was practicing, this was in the early 2000s, and I was studying with Yogi Amrit Desai from Kripalu Yoga and Amrit Yoga at the time, Amrit. I asked him a question. I'm like, I don't understand third eye. Like, what is it about the third eye? And he said to me, third eye is the main integration point. It's the main integration point. And I said, what does that mean? And he just looked at me, and he was standing right in front of me, and we were talking, and he said, basically third eye is everything, is how I remember it coming through. But what he said was, third eye is the main integration point. And then he got really strong with me and looked me right in the eyes, and then he just walked away. And I said, well, that didn't answer my question. I don't know what that means. And I spent years focusing on my third eye in yoga practice and meditation until I understood. What a fabulous way to learn something, fabulous way to teach something, which is, I'm not going to give you the answer, go find your own answer, right? What is it for you? So I do think that any one of these chakras that we're talking about, doesn't matter what comes through for each one of us. And yet it does, you know, offer some context somewhere relative to something. I do think it's for each one of us to dive in, have our own experiences in whatever way, shape, or form they manifest themselves to us, and self-validate around those experiences. Just acknowledge we are our own best inner mechanic, we're our own best witness, and we're our own highest authority, right? So that said, third eye is just a delicious place to explore. The wings, yeah, I love that you brought that in, Lonnie. The word perceive alone, that's all hawk medicine. And hawk medicine is, as I've been taught it anyway, it's about gaining perspective, and that's very third eye. So we can have the mouse's view, or we can have the hawk's view. And so both are important, both are good medicine. In balance. And so, but we can get lost in the mouse's view of our lives, right up close, right here. This is all we see. And we forget the big picture. And the hawk, you know, if we put ourselves even in a brief meditation, right, on the wings of a hawk, or become the hug. We can look at the whole vast landscape, the inner landscape, the outer landscape, and get the full picture in pure witness without judgment. So I believe that perspective is a healing elixir. I think that in order to heal and grow, we need perspective. We need perspective. What was I just hearing? Oh, how do you know? This is from a renowned macrobiotic counselor and teacher. He said in a video, how do you know if you are unwell? If you're not healthy, how do you know you're not healthy? The only way we know we're unwell is because we have felt well before, right? How do you know you're unhappy? Can't possibly know if you're unhappy or not unless you have experienced happiness. And so when we're lost in something, it's important to remember the whole picture. And that is the hawk medicine. So I'll stop there because that's a lot.
That's perfect. I wouldn't say it's a lot. The other things that came through, I know I wrote it somewhere. The energy of the wings. I just, we are talking about in this space. So tying it into practical, whether it is through meditation and also just meditation can be putting your thumb on your forehead for one breath, for the sensation, for the intention to activate deeper clarity, deeper imagination abilities. But when I think the wings are such a big part of this particular painting and concept. Not only do they have an ethereal heavenly quality, of expansion and untetheredness, it's the sense of travel and freedom with the ability to see. And I know the mantra is I see. I can't help when I put myself in that visualization to also feel. And so when you tie it into your teacher, holding you closely and saying it's the integration point, and part of me wants to throw something and be like, what does that mean? And then you're telling me I have to go find it out myself, and yet I feel like we're it's right here anyway. Like that's what it is. The integration point is understanding that to ignite the imagination, integrate it with dreams, reality, consciousness, evolution, painting, growing, being.
And what are we integrating? And what we've talked about before. We talked about this at Crown Chakra, but we're bringing everything from unconsciousness to conscious awareness, right? We're waking up. We're integrating our shadow and our light. We're becoming whole, right? The yin and the yang, and all of who we are, right? In order to see, what are we asking for when we're asking to see? Are we just asking to see things that are awesome, that are insights from the universe and beyond? Or are we really asking to see? There's a lot to see about ourselves and about the nature of our reality. And so part of what we see when we turn the light on are the things that we maybe don't want to see. And that's where that integration point, I believe, becomes really important. And when everything is married in that space and we transcend everything that's married in that space, we recognize, oh my gosh, I have been taking my perceived flaws and my shadow material I've been in avoidance of way too seriously, like thinking this is the whole world of me. And it not only is it not the whole world of me, it's a piece of my walk. It's a piece of our walk here, and it is critical to the infrastructure of our ability to grow. And so if we start to look at the stuff that the shadow material, meaning the shadow material is as simple as I'm avoiding looking at that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to take responsibility for that piece of me because I don't like it. Oh, I'm a procrastinator. I'm in avoidance. I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever all those voices are. and things that we haven't even uncovered yet, right? If we recognize that those are gifts, those are building materials that help us to erect our vast kingdom, of ourselves. It is impossible for us to grow without those pieces, without, being the lotus in the bottom of the roots that go down into the bottom of the pond water, and then up comes the beautiful flower. We know that metaphor, right? I don't know if I'm saying this as articulate. I'm not, if I'm being as articulate as in proportion to my passion about this particular piece, but I'm very passionate about this because I know that it's a key. It's really important for us to recognize that every single aspect of who we are, even the things we judge the most, are critical to the infrastructure of our growth.
Mm.
We must go, wow, that's really cool that I had that rock in my path of me. To again invoke Yogi Desai, he always says, I am the obstacle and I am the way. We're both. That's our wholeness. So
I think you articulated it perfectly.
Okay.
In the correlation to your passion. And, I think and it really does speak to what Lonnie was saying about the sand. And I want to be like when it's in an oyster and it becomes the pearl, right? Or you talk about the gem, or, when you talked about unconscious to conscious, shadow to light, unwhole to whole. I think that what you're talking about, we went from winged perceiver to integration and its role in our growth and wholeness, which in some ways is a constant passion in life. It's this theme we have about, every day, every day's opportunity to are we going to integrate more today? Are we going to listen to the conscious side more today? And that invitation, and you kind of nod it to around, don't take it. We take ourselves so damn seriously, and then in that process can even miss, we just bypass it. We won't even look at it because we're taking it so seriously. And everything you were just saying really, I know you both know, but I had a gift of being part of the Alt MBA with Seth Godin and his community. And so much of this stuff, what we just were talking about, is pillars in his education. He has 6 pillars. I wish I could find the pillars, but I'll look for them as I like to build, the show and tell component of this Chatting Chakras show. But I think that you beautifully articulated it, and now we have it captured and it's going to be transcribed. And I think when you couple sort of where we just went on this journey between Lonnie's awarenesses around wings and the capacity of this symbol to take us places, to invoking our imagination as a tool. And then you kind of grounded us in the purpose around perception in the space of growth, as a way we understand what we would traditionally call a flaw as a gift. And I say this as a totally imperfect human being, right? Most of the day I am walking around in giant self-flagellation. It is totally true. Even though I wish that wasn't true. I wish I wasn't like that. I'm mostly not flagellating when I'm in a meeting. It's after the meeting, the self-flagellation comes in, or as I'm eating food, or as I am deciding not to work out or not to do yoga or what, blah, 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 all day long. And yet these beautiful opportunities that present themselves as when I get present in the moment, having, one conscious breath, and that in that exact moment where I might be choosing to not recognize Lionel Richie in the mirror, that in just one moment, I can be anywhere I want to be in this process. I can be looking at the mirror of Lionel Richie. I can be in presence without understanding or knowing where I am, but knowing that I am not what I am, like you said about wellness and how you only know when you're unwell because you know when you're well. Like that is what this stuff helps us to understand is like, and the only other thing I would point out, Christina, is when you talked about how you can only know these for you. And I think what the gift we've all had is like, we have really played with chakras. Like we were like, let's play with the chakras. And like, when you really play with them in this like unknowing knowing where you're like getting sort of waves of this idea and this person said this and you kind of understand this, but then you do it yourself. You do the practices. I think you do actually physical practices. You're in a moment and you choose something that's when your knowingness comes in. And Lonnie, what were you about to say? I could see you were getting excited.
Well, actually, I breathed, which was accidental and wonderful. It was quite enjoyable. Thank you. But I think a perfect meditation for this card and is to invite yourself sometime, in the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, to go outside and watch a bird fly. Mm. That's it. Just watch the mechanics, connect with the grace, the ease, the way it travels on the currents of air, where it goes, where, how you might perceive it to go high or low, or, is the bird by itself? Is the bird in community? And I would say that what a great and simple invitation for, connecting this beautiful, this magnificent and with an enormous idea of the image as two wings, enabling the seat of the soul to transcend space and time. So that is a concept, as Christine was saying, that's like, it's so grand, it's so big that might be intimidating. And yet the invitation is, let's, I think I will allow my next viewing or the next year when I watch birds, I'll take the additional pause, the additional moment, the deeper breath, and I'll witness what's happening. And maybe, just maybe, I'll remember to put my thumb on my forehead. And I don't have to tell anyone, it doesn't have to be a grand gesture or anything to prove, but just to remind myself that freedom to travel and feel liberation and to see and to know and to be is all right there in just how we tweak what we're paying attention to.
And that's key, the present moment awareness. It's all right there. And we transcend space and time in ways just by becoming present. Mm-hmm. That we tend to maybe not notice or dismiss, but just, I love that suggestion, Lonnie, to, just observe a bird fly, part of us becomes that, as that happens, and that observation. And it's reminding me of, we talked before we started this podcast, we were chatting about the sutras. It's reminding me of the first few yoga sutras, the first written recordings of yoga, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And I'm like Chip Hartranft's translation, but there are many, many translations. But in his translation, he says, the first sutra is, now the teachings of yoga. I teach this all the time, but the first word being now, present moment, now, come into the now. Come into this moment. Oh, it's so elusive. We miss it. Come back into the moment. All of what we need is there, and all of what we don't need doesn't exist there, right? Now, the teachings of yoga. Yoga is to still the patternings of consciousness. So quiet the mind, release the chitta vritti, become present. Quiet the mind. And only in that place can we then discern between what is pure awareness, the one who's observing, and what is the chatter, what is everything else that's in motion, right? So the observer and the observed. And if we can discern between the part of us that's witnessing ourselves versus what we're witnessing, then that pure awareness of us will not confuse itself with what we're observing. Because if we do not discern between the witness, the one inside of us who can observe, and what we are observing about ourselves, awareness, so awareness can abide by its true nature. If we're not coming to that discernment, awareness will then think it is the chitta-vritti, right? So that's it. And that's in the sutras. Those are the first several. And so that's all third eye too. You know, that's all bringing it together. And I just want to do this. I don't know why, but it keeps tapping at me. So I'm going to say it out loud. So maybe somebody needs to hear this, including ourselves. I don't know. But Kate, when you were talking about that place of, I wanted to say the word battles, like that inner battle, that self, what is the word? Flagellation or whatever it is.
Yep.
Battle is a necessary, healthy tension in this dimension, right? We have space is a construct, time is a construct. There are forces of nature that kind of keep everything together here and in this reality. And if we take the judgment off of that and we're practicing ahimsa, non-harming, we're doing our best not to harm ourselves or others, the environment, whatever it is, whatever that means to each person. But battle still happens, and battle is really important. So it's just to internalize that in the healthiest possible construct, right? So I am going to, when that negative thought form comes up, I'm not just going to go, oh, life is good, I love myself, everything's happy and sweet. No, I'm going to do battle with that thought form for a moment. And I'm going to, instead of slay myself with the thought form, so pretend that bad thought form against myself is a weapon, I'm going to take out my spiritual fire, and I'm going to slay the thought form instead. That's a form of battle. I'm going to be like, you don't belong here. You're out of my house. Because I wake up in the morning and say, I am Kate LeMay.
Well, you are
really,
not like
I'm a power ascender. So I don't know why that was nudging at me. And I know I don't want to carry this out too long, but I feel like maybe that's an important thing to bring in as well for some reason, maybe for connecting the dots. Maybe somebody's hearing this and saying, you just connected a dot there where I needed to connect that dot.
That's great. It's great, Christine. Are you kidding me? Because that's that battle. Yeah, most of us are in that space a lot. Kate, I know for a fact you are not alone, because I'm also there with you. And it gets a little bit more fun when you can get a little bit of non-attached observing, and then you're like, well, that is hilarious right now. It doesn't mean that your feeling human self isn't still like, shut up. But yeah, the space helps. So thank you for your guidance there.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, I think we covered a lot of territory today. Yes, perfect.
Yes.
You. I like that. Yeah, it can happen. So good. So I feel like we've rounded around Winged Perceiver in a beautiful way, and I hope that so audience, I'm engaging you now. This is not a passive game anymore. What resonated with you? Put it in the comments. Pop it on Facebook. Pop it on YouTube. Don't forget to like this show. If you like the show, last I checked, we had 36 subscribers to the Chatting Chakras. So every single one of you that is listening matters. And I know, like I said, I just want to pre-acknowledge it's annoying that you actually have to be logged into YouTube to like things, because I always forget my password. So if you're like me, the pain is real, but I would appreciate the effort. And I do want to say that we have a beautiful friend of ours, Missy Mainville, who is transcribing these for us now. So I had initially used a transcription service, but now Missy's helping us, and she's pulling out these beautiful quotes. And what will happen over the year and the next year and the future years is with this content is we will start to pull these quotes out for us, so that we ourselves, just like the way we read this text, you know, it's like sacred text, right? When you get to see a sentence that actually helps something stick into your consciousness and change your DNA around the way. Like, I actually think Lionel Richie mirror is not going to go away anymore. Like, we now understand the Lionel
I'll see
Richie.
if I can find the clip. Yeah, I mean,
that would be great. If you could
take a video.
Put it in the chat and people can see it.
Yeah.
And And I just, again, want to express my gratitude to both of you for everything you bring to this conversation, because I just learned so much from and I know I've told you guys this in private and other settings, but like, we'll record this and then weeks, times go by, and then these shows will go up. And as they go up, I take the time to re-listen. And every time it's been like exactly what I need to hear in that moment in some weird way. And the comments and feedback that we are getting sort of in private text messages and DMs and Instagram and whatever, people are just saying this is resonating a lot with them. They're learning a lot. It's helping them. And I think it's that, to point to Christina's point around how you integrate these ideas into your life, your relationship with this idea of winged perceiver, like go on an adventure, put your backpack on and like get ready to dive in, because the more you give yourself permission to playfully approach this stuff, I will just say, man, does it make the journey so sweet and such a sacred, like I am, even in moments where I'm like, it feels terrible, I recognize how sacred it is in that moment. I'm like, this isn't going to be a sacred moment. It's like, but again, getting present and not even, just being, and you're like, you come out of it and you're like, whew, 2 minutes later, like, whew, that was amazing.
And Kate, creating, if there is a sentence or a paragraph that resonates, a tip or something, one of the best grounding techniques that I love, and it brings me much joy, is to throw it into, I have a word swag app. Yep. So I just have, or a Sharpie on a Post-it note. It doesn't have to be fancy. Take a picture, put it on Instagram, put it with the hashtag chatting chakras, because over time we will build a visual and idea library of some of these, like a favorite little nuggets that stay with you. And of course, in the world we live in now, it doesn't just stay with you. You can share it, and it reaches someone else and someone else and someone else. We put these nuggets, flick them on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and then sometimes they get retweeted, or sometimes they get read. I've had thank yous in these different capacities of these little pull quotes. So don't underestimate your own ability to share, because you never know when people need to hear or see or experience. So this is the other social media. This is where my why we launched Epiphanies Inc. way back when, is the passion and understanding of being able to use the tools of today to transcend time and space. I feel like is beautifully demonstrated. Social media has a lot of dark corners that get a lot of flack, and they are real, but the ability to spread knowledge and insights and joy and connection and be the vessel that does that in a very simple way is incredibly exciting to me still. So thank you for reminding me of that one. All right, ladies, spring in. You want to put your hand in? Okay. Winged perceiver.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at The Chatting Chakra Show and at www.katelemay.com. Check back weekly for new episodes, where we are always celebrating enjoying the journey.